My mind began to work into overdrive, trying to process what the man was telling me. Rainbow Dash, a fictional character, was his child. Well, I gotta get going. It's getting late and I don't want to miss any classes.
Sit the fuck down! Look, I get it, I sound like a raving loony, but it's true, it was her. Big adorable red eyes gazing at me, her rainbow mane all messy and dirty, and her smile. I love that smile.
He turned away from me and began to walk towards the window, which was getting pounded by rain. And I heard thunder ring out.
I remember when I first brought her home. She was so lost and scared. But I took care of her the best I could. Oh, and that time she got her cutie mark, her smile was so large I thought she would hurt her jaw.
I backed away into the wall next to the painting of a guy eating another guy. I forgot what it was called, though.
My Dashie. My little Dashie.
Look, sir, it's been fun, but I really need to get going.
They took her, you know?
They? Who's they?
Princess Celestia. That bitch.
I flinched as I heard the glass break. The madman that used to be my professor got very close to my face, seeming to study me for whatever reason. Sir, you're scaring me. He grabbed me by the collar. I cringed as I felt his warm breath on my face.
They took her away from me. I let them take her. I should have never had them take her.
Get away from me, you fucking psycho. He fell on the glass coffee table as I heard the glass shatter everywhere. The man moaned in pain as I began to sprint upstairs.
Get back here!
He screamed as I ran down the upstairs hallway. However, every door looked alike. The wallpaper was a dull grey with some flakes of paint falling off the wall, like it hadn't been taken care of in years. But before I could think about that, I heard heavy footsteps run up the stairs. I didn't think twice before I chose a random room. I jumped inside and slammed the door shut. The room was dark, but the first thing I noticed was the smell. It smelled like rotten meat. I gagged as I tried to reach the light switch. As I turned it on, the room was bathed in a red glow from the light bulb. I felt my breath catch in my chest when I saw something moving in the room with me. From what I could see was what could only be described as a dark mass that was rising and falling from its heavy breathing. I thought I could see bits of blue hair on the thing. The rest of its body, however, was pale and red. Its limbs were long and dangled and bent at different angles like tree roots. The thing turned its head to me. Its eyes were sunken into its skull. Its lower jaw was long and it dangled at odd angles. And the teeth that were in its mouth were growing on top of its other teeth. Its hair was long and greasy, but I noted how some parts of its hair was brown and in other parts it was in a rainbow. I gasped as I heard it talk in two voices. So help me, it had two voices. But before I could scream, I heard the door behind me open, and as I turned around, everything went black. The world slowly came back to me first in a blur, however. I began to realize I was moving. I tried to sit up, but I found I was tied down on a medical stretcher used for hospitals. My vision became clear as I looked at the dirty ceiling, lights flickering as I rode past them. I turned my head to the right and saw cages. Endless cages that looked like they belonged in a prison. Professor, is that you? I heard something call out. I let out a yelp as I saw something that was almost human. Well, human-shaped, anyway. The thing was human from the neck down, minus some blue patches here and there, but its hands seemed to be fused together, and its skin drooped lazily from its face. I looked to another cage and saw a puddle of fuzzy blue flesh. It moved up and down in a pattern, like a heartbeat.
My name is Scott. 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 My name is Scott.
I heard in a raspy female voice. The thing looked like a perfect copy of the Rainbow Dash character, but they were rocking back and forth with tears in their eyes. I also saw that the entire room was filled with scratchy writing that read, "My name is Scott." I tried to scream, but I realized I was gagged. I felt panic begin to wash over me like cold water. I struggled at the leather holding me down, but then I saw 2 double doors open as I was pushed into a new room.
I'm sure you have a lot of questions.
The man said, pushing me into a dirty room with tables full of bottles that contained strange brown substances, and was surrounded by medical equipment.
When Dashi went home, I thought I could handle it. I mean, after all, she was from another world, for hell's sake.
He rambled, looking through his equipment, searching for something.
But then a few years passed, and with every year I missed her more and more.
He said, grabbing an apron and began to put on 2 rubber gloves.
I was desperate to see her again, so I began to study quantum physics, alternative universes, black holes, the whole 9 yards. But no matter how much I studied or theorized, they were just that, theories. So when the science didn't work,
He paused, grabbing a needle full of the substance and smiled.
I turned to magic. But it didn't bring me rainbow either. Turns out the occult doesn't know how alternative universes work. But one day an idea came to me.
He leaned in on me, needle at the ready.
If I couldn't go to my daughter, I'll just make another one.
He whispered, jamming the needle into my arm. I felt the strange potion slide down my veins. Pain began to erupt across my body as I felt my bones break and rearrange. Organs were sliding around in my belly, and hair was spreading across my body. And finally, feeling my mind fading, my memories, my thoughts being erased like ink on a whiteboard. Going, hey, wait, please, no, don't do this, please, I don't want to go, going, I don't want to go, I want to stay, I still have family, I have friends, going, I don't want to go, I don't want to go, please, please, don't let me go, gone.
Welcome home, my little Dashi.